Stephen Gaerber. I was first on the Federation board in the mid-90s. I stepped off in '97 when I became the president of the Jewish Family Service Agency. And then I got involved in young leadership nationally for Federation and took some roles locally in young leadership. And then I started the Yom Ha'atzmaut. I was co-chair of what's now the big Yom Ha'atzmaut program every year in the community, and so I co-chaired that with my wife for 1 year, and then with my brother for I think 12 or 13 years to create this program. And through my involvement with Israel there, I got on the Israel committee, and then I became the chair of the Israel and Overseas Committee in 2005, and I came on the board at the same time as that. I did that for 5 years until 2010, and then I became the chair of the Allocations Committee, the local Allocations Committee, and I did that from 2010 to 2015 when I became the chair of the board of the Federation, and I completed that in June 2017, so just a few months ago.
Why did you first get involved with the Federation?
I was asked to come on the board. I had always been sort of involved in community. Even as a teenager, I was involved in leadership in a youth group, and community just came naturally. I'd seen my mother involved. She was the first woman to be president of the JCC. And when I was asked to join the board, I didn't think twice. I joined the board. So I can't say I put a great deal of thought or I did it to accomplish anything in particular. I just thought I was asked and I did it.
What were the largest challenges faced by our community then, when you first got involved?
A lot of the same themes as now, but different details. For example, we were talking about affordability then, but we weren't talking about affordability for the middle class in Vancouver. We were talking about the poor. We were talking about transportation and housing for seniors, the same as we are still today. We were talking a lot about young adults and connecting them to the community and finding ways to keep them in the community and keep them engaged in community. Similar to what we're talking about today, although the details have changed, and now we're looking at young adults that can't afford to live in the city, and how are we going to keep them engaged. So a lot of the same issues as today. But we were a growing community at that time. We were still building infrastructure, although we had quite a bit already. But we had a new school in Richmond, and education, affordability of education was an issue then as it is now. So a lot of the same things. As a federation, we've done a lot. We've done a lot towards affordability. We're raising a lot of money and more money, and able to give out more and have greater impact in the community. We were able to give a lot of money to the schools to subsidize tuition. Not enough, but a lot more than we used to be able to. Our campaign is growing and has continued to grow, which is bucking the trend in North America, not just in the Jewish community, but communal giving, even United Way. We're one of the very few federations that, certainly of our size in North America, that has a growing campaign. Our foundation is doing unbelievably well. In 2018, we've already met the goal, and I don't take personal credit for that because I've been not very involved in the foundation, but certainly our federation and the people running the foundation should be very proud. They've reached their 2020 goal in early 2018 of 60 million, and that's the key to the future, because it's becoming harder and harder to raise money annually. So we really have to put an emphasis on growing our foundation. I think we have an unbelievably strong relationship with the north of Israel, and that's another thing that I was very involved with, both when I was chair of our Israel committee, but then I went on to chair our partnership through Partnership 2000, now called Partnership Together, with a few other Canadian communities and 5 communities in the north of Israel. And we have a very strong relationship with them, and it's really a beautiful, warm, and sophisticated relationship with the mayors and lay people. And our community is doing really incredible things to enhance the life of the citizens of the north of Israel. So those things I'm very proud of. Many more things as well, but all of those stand out. Our 2020 plan in itself, it was a pretty big achievement where we interviewed dozens or hundreds of community members and took their input, and our staff and board spent over a year planning, coming up with a strategic plan for 2020 to map out the near future of our community and set priorities.
What are the big differences you see in our community today versus when you first got involved with the Federation?
Well, it's bigger for one thing. Our community has grown, and it's spread out, and that's the big thing. That whereas when I was a kid, for instance, everybody lived around the Oak Street corridor, and all our institutions were built here. So one of the differences is now half of our community lives outside Vancouver. And we really we certainly don't have a physical infrastructure. We have a few buildings here and there in the community, but we need to reach out to the regional communities. We've started to do that, but that's the future of the Jewish community, not in the center of Vancouver, it's looking. And so we have to figure out how to reach the Jews in those communities who are yearning for involvement. We've learned that. And to give them the support that they need. Living a Jewish life was always expensive. Now it's combined with living in general in the city of Vancouver is virtually impossible for many families. So that's a big difference. We're having middle-class families, people earning good incomes who can't afford to live in the city, can't afford to send their children to schools, our Jewish schools, can't afford to take part in the Jewish community. That's probably one of the biggest challenges we had to face, and we haven't completely figured it out. We're still working on it. I think also another change is we didn't really worry too much about security for the community back then, and now it's become a focus with what's happening in the world. We've looked at other Jewish communities, spoken to other Jewish communities in England and elsewhere, and we're becoming more sophisticated and in the way we deal with security. We've just hired a community security director. I think every community needs a body that's going to look at the big picture, to be able to prioritize the needs, to look at what's needed in the community, and really raise the money or a good part of the money to support all these different needs. You know, we support so many different organizations. I think we have 34 constituent agencies right now, and support a lot beyond that. And all these agencies can't hire their own fundraising people, and people trust us to know where the needs are and to meet those needs. Not every need is sexy, even if it's very important. And so if every organization, if there wasn't a central body to raise and distribute the funds, a lot of these agencies and these causes wouldn't have their needs met. And so that's one of the reasons I think Federation is important. But just planning in general and understanding the community and being a resource for the community. What's changing is the way people want to give, and that's and I alluded to earlier when I said that we're bucking the trend and that our campaign is still growing, because millennials, studies are showing that they don't like giving communally. They want to see the end result of where their money is going very directly. And so one of the things that we have to do, and we are starting to do, is to create ways that we can identify priorities, but people can fund those directly. So they do see they look to us as a resource to help them channel their funds to needs, but they can see very directly where their money is having impact. And so we've done a lot of that in Israel in our partnership community, but we're doing more and more of it locally as well. One of the things that struck me when I was throughout all the different positions I've had here, and certainly when I was board chair, is the commitment and the level of our staff. It's just it's inspiring to see the expertise that our staff have and how they care about community. And really, the board's there to run the committees, I think, but the staff do a great deal of the work, and we're really very fortunate to have this kind of staff that we do.